American sports are all scheduled in November for the first time since November 2020, and we want to celebrate by slashing the cost of all daily packages by 50%, including 5% best bets. Starting Tuesday, November 1st through Sunday, November 7th, $25 daily packages are priced at $12.50, and $35 5% best bets are priced at $17.50. But even better, this is the perfect time to take advantage of WagerTalk's one-day all access. Lock in the handicapper of your choice for one full day for only $39, including when they have a 5% top play that normally sells for $35. But during our 50% slash promotion, you get a one-day all access for only $19.50. This special is valid through Sunday, November 7th, so save the whole week long.
Happy Wednesday, guys. Carmine and Bianco, WagerTalk.com with another edition of Puck Time. Andrew has the day off today, but joining me, it's normally the Prez on Wednesdays, but today we've got a special guest, Brian Leonard, shifting over from Thursday to Wednesday to talk about the 4 games today. Only 4 games on the sched today, so pretty easy with that one. So we're going to cover the Carolina, Chicago, Nashville, Edmonton, Columbus, Colorado, and the St. Louis, LA game. Let's bring in Bry, see how Brian's doing. Mr. Leonard, one of my favorite humans and my favorite Vegas human for sure. If Marco's watching this, I'm sure I'll hear something about that, but how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. Sorry I missed you when you were in town. I hope you had a good time. And yeah, a lot of things going on in life right now, so I can't be some of the places I'd like to be. But I'm here on the show today, and I appreciate you switching up. When you get older, you got doctor's appointments, and I've got one tomorrow. So appreciate you switching up, and hopefully we can get some winners today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm looking forward to what you've got to discuss on some of these games. Bear with us, guys, if there's a connection problem, but we will get through this show. Don't worry about it. After a good run, Bry, I had a very good run going yesterday. It was one of those ones where you just want to hide your head in the sand. And I'm in Punta Cana, so hiding my head in the sand is very easy here. I went like 1-2-1 in soccer, a small losing day. But my NHL plays had been going very well of late, and I thought I had 2 winners last night. Minnesota just pounded Ottawa most of the game, but at the end, that regulation bet on Minnesota doesn't get there, and then they win it shortly into OT. So it's one of those times where I don't want to lay the juice. I take the shorter price in regulation time. Long term, it's been a winning proposition for me. It wasn't yesterday, and then somehow, in one of the other games, I had the under in the. I think it was the Winnipeg Dallas game, and Dallas finds a couple of goals in the third period to send that to overtime and squashing that under 5.5. 6 of the 9 games stayed under the total yesterday, and the games that went over the total were some of the unlikeliest of games. So, any surprises for you last night?
Well, it's never going to be a good day for me if the home teams win all but one game. And the only play I had yesterday was Buffalo. Kicking myself still because I didn't play Toronto yesterday. I know Vegas is completely decimated at this point, but I saw the line at like 180. And I guess it's just in the back of my head. When was the last time we saw Vegas as such an underdog? Didn't play it. Kicked myself all day. Wanted to play it. And, of course, should have played it. But woulda, coulda, shoulda. Who cares? I mean, that's just the way it is. The games we leave off the schedule, leave off the our accounts, just seem to always come in that way. But we did win our football play. A nice, easy winner on Ohio U. And so it should turn a little bit of a profit. But yeah, still kicking myself for not playing Toronto yesterday. Maybe it's a situation where I just don't trust Toronto as a big favorite because they've struggled many times and lost many games that they should have won in that scenario. But overall, everything's pretty good, and looking forward to a solid day of winners.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. That number on Toronto really steamed throughout the afternoon and evening. I think it settled in at close to game time. Toronto was like minus 220, minus 230 at some books. They got the job done. We'll give them credit you, but like you said, Vegas is decimated and just gets worse with Carlson now out, I think 4 to 6 weeks with a broken ankle, I believe it is. So this was probably the toughest of the 4 games for them on the road trip, with Montreal, Ottawa, and I think it's Detroit, the final 3 before they head back home. But we'll see how they do in those games. All right, let's head to the first game. We're going to look at the Carolina-Chicago game. Carolina minus 160, Chicago plus 135. The puck line minus 1.5 plus 150 on one side, and plus 1.5 minus 180 with the total at 6 here in this one. Right, you look at this, and Carolina is a perfect 8-0 right now. Chicago finally gets their first win. I think a lot of us thought they would get their first win on Monday and stop becoming the free space on the bingo card that's left to Arizona Coyotes as of now. You're an analytics guy, so I threw some of these numbers together with you. Canes 5-on-5, 20 goals scored, 3.41 goals per 60 minutes, and an XG number of 2.83 goals per 60 minutes, which is fantastic, I think. They're averaging 4.13 goals per game overall, and like even their HDC, their high danger chances, 14.49, which I think is pretty impressive for this team. And then how would you love to be Freddie Anderson? We know about how he finished off his career, or his career with the Maple Leafs, and now here he is 7-0 with the Canes with 1 shutout, a goal average of under 2. And he wasn't in that 6-3 win over Chicago in that game. So he'll be facing them for the first time. I'm not sure. Usually when a team wins a game, Brian, I think it's the turning stone for, it breeds confidence. But I'm not really sure. I'd rather a different opponent for Chicago to make it 2 in a row. So I'm going to throw it to you, but I'm kind of looking at the fact that, Chicago scoring 5 goals was kind of an anomaly so far. They've only averaged 2.2 per game, and their XG is the lowest in the league, 1.43. If I'm going to lean somewhere, I'm going to be one of those chalk-eating guys that Kelly Stewart talks about and take Carolina and maybe the puck line, minus 1.5 plus 155. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, even though there's a small card today of only 4 games, there's some interesting handicaps, and this one is one of the strongest or most interesting out of the bunch. At first glance, you take a look at the records of these teams. You take a look at what the line is in this game. You think the laying the 150 or whatever it is a gift for the Hurricanes. Undefeated on the season, playing a Blackhawks team that just got their first win. You talked about it. If you take a look at the stats on the season, it's a tremendous advantage for Carolina here. They're second behind Minnesota in goals plus or minus per 60 on 5-on-5 at 7.64, and Chicago is the league worst at minus 8.60 in goals plus or minus per 60 on 5-on-5. If you take a look at the expected goals, the Hurricanes are plus 0.5, and the Blackhawks are poor. Not doing well at all. So it's a situation for me where, do you believe in what has happened with your eyes? And if you do, you're all over Montreal, or all over Carolina. If you have handicapped hockey and handicapped sports and believe in regression to the mean, it's probably a good spot here for Chicago. If I take a look at natural stat trick here, expected goals percentage, which means the team is basically dominating the puck. You look at Carolina, they rank 10th. They're at 52.75, but goals for, goals against, 20-7. That's not something you would see out of the 10th ranked team in expected goal percentage. So they've been a little bit fortunate here. And then when you take a look at Chicago, they're dead last, 42.46% of expected goals, and they're down 30-10 in scoring 5-on-5. I wish Chicago had shown us a little bit more as the season's gone on. Now, I will say, Fleury, the last 2 games, Fleury has been in goal. They've only given up 1 goal. If you could catch, I don't know who's going to be in goal tonight, but catching Fleury when he's hot in goal at this underdog price, you don't see it very often. But I don't know if we have enough positives out of Chicago at this point to want to back them. A system that I've used over the years is very popular and very successful has me on Chicago, but it's somewhat like I talked about yesterday in the Toronto game. Do I really trust them? I'm just kicking myself after not playing Toronto yesterday. Maybe I'll end up kicking myself not playing Chicago now. But unless this line goes up a little bit more, I'm probably going to be sitting this one out. But right now you're looking at Chicago at like the plus 135. Pinnacle's got 139. So if I can get 150, I'll be on Chicago. I don't think we'll see it. If it's Fleury and plus 150 late in the day, I'll play it. But I just don't think we'll get there. But it is an interesting handicap.
Yeah, you know what? And Brian, I get exactly what you're saying. And I can't see what the guys are saying in the chat because, I got to keep the ship running. But, a lot of them will always say, you don't overthink it. Just go with the better team here. But I completely get what you say about at some point regression does kick in when you're playing. And we're going to talk about it later with the Edmonton Oilers or the next game coming up. But it's sort of like the devil angel on each shoulder, and one's telling me, Carolina's the play. Just go ahead and take them. They're the better team. To your point of the goalie, the expected goalie is Lankinen right now for them, but there's no confirmations. The only confirmation thus far is Colorado with Johansson in net. But it's one of those things. I wish, as you said, we had seen more out of Chicago, but they played two banged-up games in a row. That 1-0 loss to St. Louis, and then the win on Monday. So it could be one of those ones where they start to string some really good performances together, and maybe they deal the Hurricanes their first loss of the season. The number is begging you to take Carolina, and it just reminds me of last week being in Vegas. Carolina at home against the Leafs, and Carolina was minus 125, and I said to myself, this line absolutely stinks. They're begging you to take Carolina. I think it's a trap. And then I stayed off the game, and Carolina beats Toronto 4-1. And I'm kicking myself the next day for overthinking things, but it's one of those things. Anyways, let's move on to this second game. We're going to look at the Nashville-Edmonton game up next in this one. Edmonton, talk about double-digit favorites, minus 210 in this one. Nashville plus 175. The total here is 6, Brian. And it's the Edmonton. I always talk about it. It's the Alberta double. Back in the day, and Brian, it used to be when Calgary and Edmonton had very good teams going into Alberta and having to play either one of them first and then the other one second. That second spot was such a bad spot because you're playing a team usually on a back-to-back, and you're playing two very good teams. But it's a little different this season. While Calgary and Edmonton are having good seasons, it's still early. So I don't think that Alberta double really comes into it. Nashville played well yesterday to win that game against Calgary, hand them that defeat. But it's one of those things. It's a back-to-back game. They are scoring goals. So I'm going to look at this, Brian, from before I go to you, from a totals point of view, and that's 6. Nashville are scoring goals. They are. I think they're averaging. I think what is it? 4 goals. 4 goals per game on the road thus far. It's early in the season, so these numbers are obviously going to change. But this team is scoring goals, and I expect them to score some goals tonight, even on the back-to-back. But I just don't see them stopping, McDavid and co. They're averaging 4.25 goals per game. I think this is one of those games that has some goals in it. The Oilers are playing extremely well, but the thing is, the question mark for the Oilers coming into the season was, does their defense hold up? Does their goaltending hold up? It's kind of holding up right now, but the high danger chances, I think they're like 20th in the league. They're allowing the opportunities. The teams just aren't scoring, or the goalies are holding down the fort. When that regression comes, the goals are going to start to come, and we're probably going to see the Oilers starting to drop some games or higher scoring games involving the Oilers. My only way to go here, because I'm not laying the minus 210, is likely the total here, Brian, and the over 6. Thoughts?
Yeah, as we speak here, money's coming in on Edmonton. They opened 185. Now they're getting hit. Pinnacle's got them at 226. So there's money coming in on Edmonton here, but I'm not laying that. This is a team right now that when Edmonton's good, they've been very good. When they've been bad, you don't want any part of them, as we saw in the playoffs last year, as they got swept out in the first round. All this, anytime I'm looking to handicap an Edmonton game, is how often do I think they're going to get into a power play situation? Edmonton on the season, if you're looking at goals plus or minus per 60 on the power play, 21.23. Take a look at some of the others in the league. The next closest, I believe, is Tampa Bay, or excuse me, the St. Louis Blues at 14.52. As you pointed out, Predators doing very well, 9.14 in goals plus or minus per 60 on the power play. So if you could get to the power play, this game's going to fly over. If you're taking a look at it on the 5-on-5, it should be a little bit more competitive. But that's the way it is. Anytime you play against Edmonton, 5-on-5, you have a chance. But once you get shorthanded, you can't beat them. So Edmonton's a team that is extremely good when they have their best players on the ice, the best scorers, and they've got a great scoring team for Edmonton. Nashville, I to be honest with you, I think the line's too high. I just don't believe in Edmonton this much. But the market is telling me that Edmonton's the way to go. But I can't be on it. I agree with you. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. You usually can't go wrong playing Edmonton games over. They're a team that scores a lot. And like I said, if we see some power plays here, I have no doubts that Nashville will get on the board and might get 2 or 3 themselves. So over 6 is probably the way I would look in this one.
All right, there you go. Brian Leonard of WagerTalk.com. And guys, you know what the deal is at WagerTalk this week through Sunday. Any daily package, including 5% plays, are 50% off. You can also get a one-day all access for anyone who has multi-packages up, and you can get that one-day all access that is normally $39 for $19.50. So head over to WagerTalk.com and you can take advantage of that one. Brian, we are holding down the fort, so let's head to the third game on the card, Colorado and Columbus. Let's look at the number here, minus 180 on the Avs, plus 150 on this Columbus team. Brian, I'm going to make this short and sweet from my end. So I'm going to actually ask you for your thoughts first on this one, and then I'll go from there. Brian?
Yes, sir. Yeah, this one to me is from a standpoint of you taking a look at expected goals percentage. Colorado ranks 7th in hockey at 54.74. But yet when you take a look at their 5-on-5 goals for, goals against, they've been outscored 17-14. Colorado's a team with a lot of injuries right now, very similar to the Vegas Golden Knights. And I like Colorado, but how deep are they? It's tough to lay this kind of number with the injuries that they've had, COVID issues that they've had. Colorado's a team for the most part I'm looking to fade as the year goes on. Expected goal percentage, 44.77, so they're 28th in the league in that regard, but yet they've only been outscored 13-12, so they've been a little bit fortunate. So I'm looking at it, and I think Colorado has been a little bit unfortunate, and Columbus has been fortunate, but I just don't know if I want to lay this type of number with Colorado. I know it's tons of money is coming in on Columbus because of the injuries and the COVID situations for Colorado, but still it's sitting in the 175, 180 range. Don't know if I want to lay that, but that'd be the only side I'd look here. I wouldn't want to play Columbus, but this one won't be on my card tonight.
All right. Yeah, no, and sorry, I threw it to you first before giving my thoughts, but I wanted to hear what you had to say. I wanted to talk about the price. And, you look at the price, and it's like you said, money's coming in on Columbus. This money line started yesterday at about 5:30 at minus 220 on the Avs. And as of this morning was at minus 190 and now down to like minus 180. So as you said, it is the money coming in. A lot of these teams, obviously, with injuries or COVID issues, obviously Makar won't play. There's players out for them, but I still think I look at the way the Avs have played, and they've played well of late, picking up wins in 3 of their last 4. And you look at it's supposed to be Johansson and net tonight. He's only played 1 game. That was the game in which they lost to the Panthers. But he stopped 34 of 37 shots. They didn't get any output. The only thing that worries me, Bry, is the Blue Jackets and scoring on the road. Again, it's early in the season, so these numbers always seem skewed, but they're averaging 1.33 goals per game on the road. But again, it's only through 3 games, right? So it's a skewed number. If we were at the 30-game mark and I'm telling you they're averaging 1.33, it's something to worry about. But it's an Avs team that can score some goals. So Columbus is going to have to do something to keep the pace on this one. If I'm looking at it, I hate to lay those big numbers. If that regulation line number comes down, it was at like 120, 125. It sits at like 110, 115. I'm willing to take that and see if the Avs will get this win in regulation time. So that's my thoughts with regards to that one. Guys, let's look at the last game before we close this show up. It is the St. Louis Blues and LA Kings. The Blues minus 135 on the road. The Kings plus 115 at home. The total here is 5.5. Brian, it's funny to think we're 10 or 11 games into the season, and this is the series finale between these two. They only play 3 times. The first 2 were in St. Louis, where the Blues won 7-3 and 3-0. And both those games, they were one-sided. Obviously, you can see it by the scores, but even the 3-0 game, while the Kings might have looked better, seemed one-sided. But sometimes you change the venue, you change the game, and it looks a little different. It's going to be interesting here because we talked about the whole COVID issue, and there are some with going on right now with the Blues. O'Reilly is on COVID protocol. Clifford's on it. So is backup goalie Husso, and they've got back-to-back games. They got the Sharks tomorrow. So they called up, what is his name? Joel Hofer. So he might actually make the start tomorrow. But check on the goalies for tonight's game because Binnington's going to play one. Hofer's likely to play the other unless Husso comes off the COVID list at some point today or tomorrow. But I don't think you want to lay $135 if you've got an emergency goalie in net for the Blues against this Kings team. I don't want to play a side here. I'm really going to wait to see who the goalies are. I think if it's Binnington in net, I like the way he's playing. I may lean to St. Louis, but again, changing the venue sometimes changes the games. Do I think the Kings are a live dog? Absolutely. I think the Kings are a live dog. I'd rather get something, plus 120, plus 125 at home. I think long term that probably makes you money. For me, I'm going to wait for the goalies on this one. So I don't want to give you a side, but if you've held a gun to my head, if it's Binnington in net, it's the Blues. If it's Hofer in net, I'm taking the Kings. Bri?
Yeah, that's the problem when you do these shows so early in the morning. You don't know, for example, who's going to be the starting goalies in these games. I want Peterson for the Kings. He hasn't done as well this year as he has in the past, but I've seen him play many times, and he's much better than Quick. If you're looking at expected goal percentage, which is basically how often they've dominated the play in the opponent's area of the ice, the Kings are 8th at 53.02. They've outscored the opposition 5-on-5, 16-15. St. Louis is a team that's been a little bit lucky in that regard. They rank 25th at 46.36% of ice time in the opponent's area, and they've outscored the opposition 18-11. So obviously they've got some skilled players on the team, some very good players, but they've been a little bit fortunate. If you take a look at goals plus or minus per 60 on 5-on-5, the Kings are up 0.06, where St. Louis is up 1.33. The Blues have dominated the first two games of this series. I prefer the LA side here. I think there's a little bit of value on the home dog here. Losing two games in the season coming into the third is one thing. Losing two games that are fresh in your mind for the Kings is something a little bit different. So I think we get a better effort out of the Kings. I always chart how teams do when they play in revenge, and recent revenge means more than something you play a team a couple times a season, you lose bad early, and then you play them late in the season. It doesn't have that same remembrance for that team, but it surely does for the Kings, because Kings are sitting right there, 3-5-1 on the season. I think they played much better than what their record shows. The Blues have been very good so far, but they're playing a little bit over their heads in my regard. So I'm looking for the Kings here. I really want Peterson in goal, but at this point, that's the side I'm looking for, is the Kings in this one.
Yeah, and listen, I agree with you. We talk about on the show a lot of times a team returning home off a road trip. Sometimes that first game is a little tough on them. And the Kings played 4 in the row at Nashville, Dallas, and a couple back-to-backs in St. Louis. Losing all 4 games, come back, they lose to the Winnipeg Jets 3-2, but 2 straight wins, beat the Canadiens 5-2, beat the Sabres 3-2. So sometimes that winning feeling in the dressing room just carries you forward. Does it do it against a very good Blues team tonight? We will see, but getting plus money, and then maybe the issue with a couple of players out for the Blues tonight, and possibly an emergency goalie in net. We'll see. I'm not really sure what they're going to do, whether they use Binnington tonight or whether they use Binnington in the second of a back-to-back. Remains to be seen. But if you guys are looking, just keep checking some of the goaltending sites like RotoWire, where you can find the goalies once they become confirmed. Because the last thing you want to do is lay a price early, as Brian said. Sometimes doing these shows, when you don't know the goaltending matchups, it's kind of tough if you end up with the backup goalie, which I think plays a significant role in part of your handicapping. So it's an important thing. Guys, we're going to head into the best bet segment, and then we'll talk about the promo one last time and who is on tomorrow's show. Brian, I'm going to go to you first. Tell me what you have going on and up at WagerTalk, and a best bet for today's NHL card.
Yeah, like I said yesterday, we had a nice 4% winner in college football. Don't think I'll get involved in the MAC tonight, and MAC's been our specialty over the years. But these lines, where they are right now, are tight. We'll have to see how the lines move. Very similar to the hockey tonight. It's hard to tell who are going to be on until we get the goalie situation. Out of the games we talked about, I think there's some value on some underdogs here. Chicago has a little bit of value. I think the Columbus line, I'd rather play Colorado on that one, so that underdog I'm not interested in. Edmonton, I'd rather play a total in that one. So by process of elimination, I'll take the LA Kings here. We just talked about it, so I don't want to add too much. But yeah, I'll be working on basketball. There's a couple basketball plays in the NBA that I've circled for today. So I have some basketball up, and hopefully we can get started and put some more football up. Do have one play in the NFL up for this weekend. But as you pointed out, all this week through Sunday, all single game packages, all packages are half price. So if you can get somebody with a 5% play, you're not paying $35, you're paying $17.50, and that's a hell of a deal.
Absolutely. That's Brian Leonard, WagerTalk.com. I appreciate you coming on the show on Wednesday and helping us out, and it worked out great, as Andrew needed the day off, and hopefully he is well and good to go tomorrow, because he'll be on the show with 2 different guests. I will have the day off tomorrow. The Prez and Dr. Chuck on tomorrow with Andrew steering the ship. That should be an interesting show for you guys tuning in. Guys, I am going to go to a game we discussed earlier, of course, Nashville and Edmonton. I am going to go over the total in that game of 6. The Oilers thus far 5-2-1 with their overs through 8 games. A little different from the Nashville end. Three overs, 6 unders for them, but it's the back-to-back in this one for Nashville. I just see some goals here, hopefully some penalties and some power plays. You give McDavid and co that puck on a 5-on-4, they're going to put it into the net. I'm just looking for goals tonight. Let's go over 6 as your show best bet. We thank everyone for tuning in. Remember the WagerTalk promo, 50% off all plays. The best bets are on the screen there. Tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m. Andrew, Dr. Chuck, and the Prez. Thank you for tuning in, guys, and hit that like button.
We've reached the midway point of the 2021 NFL regular season, and the Gold Sheet would like to say thank you for another fantastic year. The Gold Sheet has been serving NFL and college football bettors for over 6 decades and continues to make enhancements and improvements into today's digital age. Whether you're a lifelong subscriber, used to buy it at the newsstand, or perhaps have never seen the Gold Sheet, we want to share this week's edition with you. To celebrate Customer Appreciation Week, all Gold Sheet football products are free. That includes the traditional Gold Sheet with write-ups on every NFL and college football game for this week. No codes, coupons, or registration required. All productions are available for download at goldsheet.com.